Hello and welcome, Minnesota Farah. We are genuinely very happy to have you with us for our daily coverage of the NFL news. Please subscribe to our channel to support our initiative as we bring to you the latest updates from the world of NFL on a daily basis. Now let's dive deep into our news stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, football enthusiasts, get ready for a football spectacle like no other. I'm your host, and tonight, we've got a doubleheader that's sure to keep you on the edge of your seats. After an exhilarating Week 2, Week 3 brings even more gridiron drama as the Philadelphia Eagles lock horns with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, followed by a Super Bowl LVI rematch featuring the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. Times 1. Eagles vs. Buccaneers. Can the Eagles' offense soar to new heights? Jalen Hurts, the young and dynamic signal caller for the Eagles, enters Monday's game with a commendable performance, amassing 363 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 interception through 2 games. However, let's dive deeper. Hurts also has 2 rushing touchdowns, showcasing his dual-threat ability. But it's worth noting that his numbers, while solid, don't quite stand out among the other top quarterbacks in the league. This season, the Eagles' offensive scheme has undergone a transformation under the guidance of new offensive coordinator Brian Johnson. Unfortunately, the results haven't been as prolific as the fans had hoped. In Week 2, it was Devonta Smith who led the charge for Philly with a staggering 178 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. However, the connection between A.J. Brown and Hurts seemed a bit out of sync, with just 4 connections between them. And let's not forget about Dallas Goedert, one of the league's premier tight ends, who has caught a mere 6 passes for 22 yards so far. The chemistry between Hurts and his top 3 pass catchers hasn't quite clicked into place yet. This presents a significant challenge, especially when facing a Tampa Bay defense that has allowed only 17 points per game at the start of this season. Times 2. Baker Mayfield's hot streak and Tampa Bay's playoff aspirations. Now, let's shift our attention to the Buccaneers camp. Tampa Bay is riding high, looking to maintain their unblemished record and start 3-0 for the first time in nearly 2 decades. A key factor in their success has been none other than Baker Mayfield, who has had the luxury of time in the pocket to connect with his star receiver, Mike Evans, racking up 237 receiving yards in just 2 weeks. But the Buccaneers' offense isn't a one-man show. Enter Rachaad White, an emerging dual-threat running back whose presence in the backfield has significantly bolstered Mayfield's passing game. White's performance in Week 2 was nothing short of spectacular, with 103 scrimmage yards on 22 touches. However, it won't be all smooth sailing for Mayfield and company. They face the daunting pass rush of the Eagles, featuring the likes of Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, and Haason Reddick. Notably, Mayfield has been one of the NFL's best quarterbacks under pressure in 2023, boasting an impressive 75.0 completion percentage when the heat is on, according to Next Gen Stats. But here's the historical twist. A 3-0 start for Tampa Bay could bode incredibly well for their postseason aspirations. You see, the Buccaneers have a rich history of making the playoffs in seasons where they've started undefeated through 3 games. This has occurred in 1979, 2000, and, yes, you guessed it, 2005, as confirmed by NFL research. It's a tantalizing possibility for Buccaneers fans, and it adds another layer of intrigue to this matchup. Times 3. D'Andre Swift vs. Todd Bowles' defensive wall. Now, let's shift our focus back to the Eagles. In Week 2, the game plan was clear: feed the ball to D'Andre Swift. And boy, did he deliver. Swift ran for a career-high 175 yards and found the end zone once, making his hometown debut at Lincoln Financial Field a memorable one. But hold on, there's a twist in the tale. Kenneth Gainwell is gearing up to join the fray this week after a brief absence due to a rib injury. In Week 1, Gainwell saw 14 carries, whereas Swift had just 1. Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni has hinted that he's going to ride the hot hand when it comes to the running back workload. So, Swift is expected to get another opportunity to showcase his skills against a Tampa Bay defense that has been nearly impenetrable on the ground, allowing a paltry average of only 54 rushing yards per game. In fact, the Eagles themselves are the only team boasting better run defense stats, permitting an average of a mere 52 yards per game. This sets the stage for a fascinating clash in the trenches as Swift attempts to bulldoze his way through Todd Bowles' defensive wall. And now, transitioning to the other electrifying matchup of the night. Times 4. Rams vs. Bengals, Super Bowl LVI Redux. In a tantalizing twist of fate, the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals meet again for the first time since their epic showdown in Super Bowl LVI. The Rams, currently at 1-1, are eager to bounce back from a hard-fought loss against the San Francisco 49ers. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the Bengals, at 0-2, find themselves in familiar territory, a position they've been in 4 times under head coach Zach Taylor. ×5. Bengals' sluggish start and Burrow's lingering calf issue. The Bengals' sluggish start to the season has raised some eyebrows, and there's a cloud of uncertainty surrounding quarterback Joe Burrow. His nagging calf injury could potentially linger throughout the season if not managed carefully. If Burrow is unable to take the field, the Bengals will turn to backup Jake Browning, who would be making his first career start in the NFL. Fortunately for Browning, he's surrounded by a plethora of talented players in Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Mixon. However, facing off against the formidable Aaron Donald is no small task. The Bengals playmakers will need to shake off their early season struggles and step up to the plate. Interestingly, Mixon enters Monday's game as the only Bengal to amass 100-plus scrimmage yards in the 2 games played this season. Perhaps the Bengals can pivot towards a run-heavy strategy early in the game to open up the passing lanes. Regardless of their approach, Cincinnati needs to craft a game plan that gets both Chase and Higgins involved because they'll need all hands on deck to secure a much-needed win, especially on home turf. ×6. The youth movement in Los Angeles. Finally, let's shine a spotlight on the youth movement taking center stage in Los Angeles. Heading into the 2023 season, the Rams had anticipated that the offensive load would be carried by Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. However, fate had a different plan when Kupp was placed on injured reserve due to a hamstring injury just before the season opener. Surprisingly, Sean McVay's offensive unit hasn't missed a beat, racking up a staggering 812 total yards. This marks the Rams' second highest total yardage through Week 2 since McVay took the reins in 2017, as confirmed by NFL research. One of the standout stars in this youth movement is Puka Nacua, a 5th-round pick who has burst onto the scene with a record-breaking performance. In his last outing, Nacua reeled in an astonishing 15 receptions, setting a new NFL record for the most receptions by a rookie in a single game. In the backfield, the Rams made a significant move by trading away Cam Akers to the Minnesota Vikings, making way for Kyren Williams to take over. So far, Williams has done an admirable job leading the Rams with distinction. In fact, with Akers sidelined in Week 2, Williams churned out his first 100-plus scrimmage yard game against a formidable 49ers defense, capping off the week with an NFL-best 4 scrimmage touchdowns. This dynamic duo of Nacua and Williams promises to be a thrilling spectacle under the dazzling Monday night lights as they look to showcase their remarkable talent and contribute to the Rams' resurgence.